this video, you'll be watching an excerpt from our Civil 3D intro class. The topic I'll be covering is description keys. Description keys are a method to automatically control Koga point properties such as style. So we saw how the trees look like trees, right? They are applied when you create or import the points. Why do we use them? To have a customizable set of rules that link to survey descriptions. So it noticed the description of the tree point starts with capital T, capital R, and then it was able to assign the styles to that point. How do we do this? On the settings tab of Toolspace, under point description keys, you can right click on the description key set, which is called Civil 3D, and you can edit that description key set. So once you do these steps here, this window pops up. So this page describes an example of how the description of your point can be rearranged. So there's a bunch of things that description keys can do. Let's bring our survey group back to the top so we can see the tree points. And I'll just zoom into one of them. So survey is at the top, and zooming into just one of the trees, it doesn't matter which one. So we see that the point style, the point label style, and the layer can all be controlled by the description key. The description key recognizes the first two letters are capital T, capital R, and then it assigns those things. Another thing that description keys can do is it can take the original description and it can change it. It can rearrange it. So as an example, let me zoom a little bit. Tree oak 24 could be one of the descriptions. Whatever the description is, the first word is considered the 0 parameter. The second word is considered the first parameter. The third word is considered the second parameter, and it keep going, right? Just keep counting 0, 1, 2, 3, etc. Right? The reason why we have these parameter values is if we want to rearrange the description, sometimes the words are not always the same, right? The word tree is always the same in all of our tree points, but the second one could be oak, could be elm right here. See, this one's oak, this one's elm. And so that second word needs to be a variable, right? It's not always the same. So using a variable, we'll be using first parameter as the variable. The third part of the description is also going to be a variable. It's not always 24. So here, this is 24, this is 36, this is 18, right? So that third part of the description must also be represented by a variable. So in this case, it's the second parameter is the variable. So down here, it shows if you need to use a variable, they're calling it a code. The 0 parameter is $0. The first parameter is $1. Second parameter is $2. So this is what we're going to use as our variables is $, and then the parameter number. Let me jump ahead. This is kind of what we need to do at the very end. We're going to set it up. See if I have another screenshot that's better. This is it. I'm going to take a screenshot of this so we have it as a reference when we actually get started. This is what we're going to do in the description key window. We're going to set up tree, ridge, top, and toe. We're going to assign styles, label styles. We're going to assign a format. The format is for the description. And then we're assign layers. And just for trees, we will be able to scale the tree symbol according to the number in the description. So we are going to start off with the trees. We know that the trees already have some of this set up. We have the point style, the label style set up, and we have a layer set up for the trees as well. Let's take a look. Let's go into Toolspace, Settings tab. And under point, you'll see description key sets. Under that, depending on your template, you should have at least one in there. We have the Civil 3D key set. So we're not going to make a new one. You can make a new one if you wanted to, and whichever key set is at the top of the list, that's the one that will be applied. But we're just going to take the one that's already here, Civil 3D, right click and edit the keys. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378. All right, so looking at what's already in here, notice there's a couple of tabs. So the point editor tab is still there because I never closed it from before. If you want the point editor tab to go away, you can use the little green check at the upper right. Then we're left with just the description key editor tab. And then in here, you'll see the TR star is picking up the tree points. There's also like sewer manhole and maybe station, I'm not sure, but these are ones that we're not actually using in this drawing file. So TR star, once it sees the first two letters are capital T, capital R in the description, it assigns it a tree style. It assigns it point number, elevation, description, label style. And then the format, if you see $star, it just uses the original description. And so all the trees are currently using their original description from the text file. What we want to do is change the description. So it's in the book, but let me just put it in the chat so we can have it. So our original description is something like tree oak 24. Right, so it's in the chat. We want our new description to look something like oak tree 24 inches. Okay. And so that number is probably representing the diameter of the trunk. But in our example in class, we're going to pretend that we want our tree symbol to scale to that number. Okay, so we'll get there. So right now we want to rearrange our description so that it's oak tree 24 inches. So in the original, tree is the 0 parameter. Oak is the first parameter. And 24 is the second parameter, right? So to create this format, I'm going to put it still in the chat here. Format will become the word oak, which is $1. The word tree. So the word tree is actually always going to be the word tree. So it doesn't necessarily need to be a variable. It can just be a constant and it could be the word tree. So it's optional. You can use $0 or you can just use the word tree. It's never going to change. So I'll just type the word tree. Then I'll put a dash. 24 is not always 24. So that needs to be a variable, $2 and then inch. All right, so in the chat, I have all the information. We're going to change our format here. Are there any questions on the format? All right, let's put it in. So once we've finished with this window, all the tree descriptions will update. Okay, so it's going to be $1 space tree space dash $2. There we go. So here's our format. The layer is already correct, vnode tree. And then there's a column here called scale parameter. What this allows us to do is scale the tree symbol according to one of the description parameters. So the one that I want to use is parameter number 2. That's the number, right? I want to be able to scale according to parameter number 2. However, when I click on parameter number 1, it doesn't allow me to change it. What happens is we first need to tell it to apply the scale. Right now, even though this is checked, it's not actually applying a scale. There's a column, apply to XY, apply to Z. I want to scale the symbol in the XY plane. So next to the word no, there's a checkbox. You can check it. It switches to yes. So we want to apply a scale to the XY plane. And now when you click on parameter 1, it allows you to use the drop down. So we want to scale according to parameter 2. Questions? If your XY plane column is not right here, you can actually click and drag it and move it around. So I just dragged mine to this location. All right, we will come back into this window for top, toe, and ridge. For now, let's take a look at what happens. So I'm going to use the X to close the window. And notice nothing really happens. The trees are all the same size. The description has not updated. A description key set will automatically be applied when you first create points or import points. But if your points are already in the drawing, you have to manually apply the change. So let's go back to the Prospector tab. And you can apply to any point group. I will apply it to the All Points group. I'm doing a right click and I'm going to apply description keys. All right, so you should see fireworks. If you do not, let me know. Okay, so those aren't really fireworks, those are trees, but they're just way too big. So it's taken the original size of that tree symbol and multiplied it by the number in the description. So we need to figure out what's going on. Why is this coming out really, really big? Go into the settings tab. And under point, we have point styles. Under point styles, we're looking for tree. We want to look at the settings of that tree style. So I'm going to right click and edit. There's a marker tab. And in the upper right corner, this is the original size of that tree. So it was already 20 feet wide. And then we multiply it by 24. It's just too big, right? So instead of having the original be 20, let's have the original be 1, because 1 times 24 will give us 24. And then again, that number in the description is probably the trunk diameter. It probably has nothing to do with the branches, but just for class, we're using this as an example. Okay, so 1, click OK. And now they update. So all the trees are different sizes, and the size is coming from the description. Questions? The other thing we did was we rearranged the description. Zoom into one of your trees. Hopefully it looks like this. So elm tree dash 36 inch. And of course, it could be oak tree, could be a different size, but the format should be what we put in there. All right, so that was tree. Now we're going to go back into the description keys and work on the ridge, top, and toe. So I will do the ridge one with you. I'll do this one with you. And then I'll let you guys have time to work on top and toe by yourself. The screenshot is pretty much what we're going to do. There is one thing I want to change though. Instead of leaving the style with default, I want us to check mark the style, actually for all of these. And I want it to be set to standard. And it's really difficult for me to write with this thing, but I'll just put STA. And okay, so just remember it's going to be standard for that column. The label style will follow the group. Remember, default means it's following the group. Format, we just want to switch it from lowercase to uppercase. We're going to put in specific layers for each of those, and we do not need to scale anything. So hopefully this little screenshot will help you. Let's go back to the settings tab of Toolspace. Under point, description key sets, right click on Civil 3D, edit keys. Okay, so now we're in this window again. Notice ridge, top, and toe do not exist yet. So all you have to do is select one code that does exist, right click and make a new one, a new row. Okay. Anytime you see the word code in Civil 3D, it is case sensitive. So here this new description key showed up. I want to click on it. And in the original text file, ridge, top, and toe were all lowercase. So I need to use lowercase. Okay, so I'm typing the full description, which is ridge. You could have done like R star if you know no other descriptions start with an R. But I'll just use the full ridge. The style, I want to check that and click on default. We're going to switch it from default to standard. So standard is just going to look like an X, but it's going to be by layer. So later on, when we create our own layers, we'll be able to pick a color, and then this point style will show that color. Point label style, uncheck that. I want it to follow the group. So default is what it's going to use. Format, I want to switch it to capital letters. Civil engineers always use capital letters on their plans. The layer, click on the box first, check that box, and then click in the empty cell. If the layer you want already exists, you can select from the list. If the layer you want does not exist, there's a button at the upper right to click for new. So in this case, we're going to use new. In the next window, I only care about two things. I care about the name of the layer and the color. So for the name, if you see my screenshot at the bottom, it's going to be v-node-ridge. So node just means point. V stands for survey. And then the color, any color you like is fine. Just don't pick red because all the other points are red. So let's see, I'll pick yellow. Once you create a new layer, it should automatically be highlighted. You can just hit OK. And there's my layer. We don't need to scale anything. You can uncheck the parameter. All right, questions on ridge? Take a few minutes to do top and toe, and then we can chat done. I think it's alphabetical order, so that's why they move around. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378. Okay, so a reminder on the steps. To create a new code, you select one, right click, and go to new. And once it shows up, new description key, click on it, and you can type whatever it happens to be, right? Then you click this check mark, click on default, and pick standard from the list. In the point label style, we do not want to override that. We'll just let the default style come from the group. Format, I just typed in capital letters instead of lowercase. The layer, I click that checkbox, click the empty cell, and I made a new layer for each of them. The name and the color is all I did. And then we don't need to scale these. They're just going to be little X's. So that's just a reminder of the steps. I'm going to delete that row. I don't need it. Once you have ridge, top, and toe in here at the upper right, you can either use a check mark or use the X. I'll just use the X to close the whole window. And again, nothing happens immediately because the points already exist. So we have to apply the change. I'll go over to the prospector tab and I'll apply to the all points group by using a right click and apply description keys. Okay. So the only thing that changed here is if I zoom in a little closer, let me use a 30 scale. If I zoom in a little bit closer, all my ridge points have the same color X, and they have capital letters for the description. All my top points have the same color X. They have capital letters, and toe points have the same color X with capital letters. So it just visually looks easier, right? You can figure out where are the ridge points, where are the top, where are the toe, instead of everything being the same red X. And then if you print this out, we typically want to print all capital letters. So we've changed that. So this is just a very basic example. So a lot of times you'll have points for manholes and cleanouts and signposts and street lamps and all these different things, fire hydrants. And you, the engineer, might be the one putting the symbols into the drawing. So this would save you a lot of time if you have it set up. So if in your template, you set up all the description keys, save it, start from that template every single time, these symbols will automatically pop up for you in the right location. And then you don't have to do that extra work of placing blocks manually. CAD Masters offers online and classroom training for a variety of Autodesk software. For more information, go to www.cadmasters.com or give us a call at 925-939-1378.